Right there. That's the punch where everything went black.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda. If this is your first time here, welcome to my beauty entertainment channel. Absolutely. So if you would like to follow me on social media, here's my Twitter and my Instagram. Go have fun, enjoy yourself on there. And while you're here, check out some of my recent videos. Before this, I would have posted an Everyone is Bothering Me video. And before that, I posted a Let's Talk New Releases. And then before that, I posted a video talking about both the Gossip Girl and iCarly reboots, like the episodes that had come out at the time. So yeah, that's everything we've done in the past. So before we get into today's video is once again sponsored. Today's video is sponsored again by Skillshare. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. In case you didn't know, but you know what Skillshare is. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands upon thousands of classes for creative and curious people. Any class you could possibly think of, it's there. I've searched some pretty crazy things and stuff shows up for me to learn from. And it's not too crazy. It's actually there. So Skillshare offers memberships allowing you to connect with the support of fellow creators and enter into a community where people want to learn just like you did. And it's not a school environment, so you know that is out of it. We don't need to re-traumatize people with more schooling, right? And Skillshare is a really fun way to continue your learning opportunities and engage with knowledge that you wouldn't get in a school setting, or maybe you haven't gotten in a school setting before. So I'm still taking Brooke Glacier's Introduction to Procreate class, illustrating on Procreate class, because it's hard. Procreate is difficult, and I just don't want to use the word for just writing notes and whatever. I want to learn how to draw on the app as well. And I also started, Brooke Glacier has a different class, her productivity for creatives class, because I'm in school again. I have to make my schedule. I'm trying to like plan out like my calendar for the whole semester and stuff. So I need to figure out how to be productive, because I don't have a lot of time, but be productive in, you know, this realm of things and keep myself on a schedule. So her class is helping me out with that thus far, right? That's pretty much it. That's what I use Skillshare for. So the sponsor for this video, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in my description box, get a 1 month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring all of your creativity and all of the different things that you want to learn. So if that interests you, please click the link in my description box and you can get your 1 month free trial of Skillshare. Super, super, super fun. Okay. So today's video, I'm very excited for this video. I don't think I've done a video like this before, even though I've wanted to for the longest time, but it's because I didn't actually pick up a book and read. This year is when I was like, I'm gonna get back. That was my New Year's resolution, was to get back into reading. I think my Goodreads goal, I made it something really small. I think it's 12. I think I was like, read 1 book a month at least. I've gone past that. I now read approximately 2 to 3 books a month. My 5th grade self would laugh in my face. 2 to 3 books a month. She would laugh in my face and she would call me a loser. It's all right. I have less time. 10-year-old Amanda, I have less time. Well, today I do this stuff for TV, so I'm like, why not do it for the books that I read? So I want to do like a book wrap up and talk about my favorite books that I've read thus far this year. These aren't all the books that I've read, but I just picked my favorites. I don't want to talk about mediocre books. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to talk about really, really excellent books that I have read thus far. So at the beginning of this year, I was like, I'm going to read more. And it was like, okay, if you're going to keep, because I buy a lot of books. I love Barnes and Nobles is maybe my favorite place on earth. So I buy a lot of books, but reading them is a separate issue. I said this year I was going to change that. And I have, and I know reading for a lot of people, something people want to get into again, because, you know, a lot of our stories aren't being told on television. They are being told in books though. So if you want to see yourself represented on screen, probably you look like me, probably not working out for you right now, but there is so much material in the book world that we might need to make this shift over so that we can use these books as source material for TV shows and movie in a perfect world, right? And I know like the reason why people don't like to read anymore is because of school. Not always because of school, but it's so like that's a different video and a different topic, how like reading what education means and what the corporation soul-sucking industry like of schooling has become when it's not necessary. Now it has people like finding no joy in reading, something that a lot of people did find joy in just like 10 years ago, but now you can't anymore because of what schooling did to you. So because of that, if that's what happened to you, like to read as a kid and you want to get into reading again, but you don't know where to start, I think some of these books will be helpful. Some are better than others in terms of like you have to get back into reading, and I'll like say that. So what I did is I started my Patreon book club, so I'd be forced to read at least one book a month. I was like, okay, you have to hold yourself accountable for reading. That's why book clubs kind of help, because now everyone has to talk about the same book, so you have to if you want to talk about that book. So I was forced to read at least once a month, and that did work. What it's hard is like reading is so fun, but you're kicking and dragging before picking up the book. Like picking up the book off your bookshelf and actually starting reading it is the pain. When you're reading it, you have so much fun, but getting up to read the book is difficult, which is why that's actually my tip for like circumventing like a reading slump, is when I finish one book, I start a new book. Even if it's just reading literally one page of it, I start it. So I at least have because usually I read excellent books. I read excellent books. I get recommended excellent books only. If I even sniff mediocrity, Amanda's running away. So because of that one page, it's never one page, it's usually like a chapter or 3, entices me enough that I'm like, when I wake up the next morning, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna come right back and read this immediately. So that's how I stay out of a reading slump, pretty much. So yeah. Like, don't finish a book until you have the next one that you may want to read ready, because it's very annoying. It's very like time consuming. It's like tedious, not tedious, but like actually getting up to go read the book is the hard part. When you're reading, it's super, super fun. It's just getting up to go get the book at the library, at the bookstore, or getting it off your shelf. For me, it's getting it off my shelf. It's a bit difficult. So that's all I wanted to talk about in terms of like general stuff with reading. Now we're gonna get into my favorite books that I've read thus far this year. Am I gonna rate them? No. Okay, so the first book that I wanted to discuss is called Wings of Ebony. The summary of this book, I'm gonna put the book covers up on the screen. So a summary of this book, I'm gonna give spoiler-free summaries of all of these books, which is gonna make it a little bit more boring for me, but I'll add in some tidbits in case you have read it. You just won't know what I'm talking about in case you haven't read it, but it's not a spoiler. I won't spoil anything, because the books are good. I want you to read them. So this book is about Rue. She's 17 years old, and she lives in Houston, Texas, and after her mother was like shot and killed in front of her, she's taken from her neighborhood in Houston, Texas by her father, leaving her little sister behind, which is a whole different issue. And she's taken by her father, who she doesn't fucking know, to this magical land called Gizon. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. That's the way I've pronounced it in my head this whole time. We will see. So Rue is the only half god, half human in this little world, and so the leader, they hate humans. The people that run this world hate humans for reasons that you will grow to know. So because she's miserable and desperate to see her sister, who she had to leave behind because she couldn't bring her sister here, she breaks their rule of like, you can't return back to your home. She breaks that rule and she returns back to Houston, and she sees chaos. Can't tell you exactly how the chaos manifests, but it's complete and utter chaos. And she realized that there are a lot of similarities between her home back home and her newfound home in Gizon. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It sounds French. I don't know. And so she sees how she's able, I don't want to tell you how the two worlds are connected, because I want you to read the book. I actually want you to read the book, how the two worlds are connected. And the book basically follows, like, if you like savior, fighter, that sort of thing, if I had to compare it to, you know, one of the big classic paths, the dystopian paths, it follows like a heroine Hunger Games-esque, not fully Hunger Games, but a little bit. So that's something that personally interests you. Gizon is supposed to be this like utopia without humans, but we all know how utopias actually go and how they become perfect, and that's the entire premise of this book, is how like Gizon became what it is, why it is what it is, why they treat certain members of their little family, of their little world differently. Yeah, everyone in this book is black except the people who it wouldn't make sense for them to be black. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So I have like one kind of gripe with this book. It's not the most intense end to a book. There's a bug on my window, ignoring. It's not the most intense end to a book. Like when you're reading it, at some points it feels like you're reading a prequel to another book, especially at some parts, like when you compare the time spent on actual action and plot happening and the time spent explaining. I love explanation, I love a good backstory, but a lot of the time is spent explaining stuff so that you understand some stuff, but enough stuff doesn't happen to warrant all this explanation. That's why sometimes it does feel like a prequel and something you would read before reading book one, like where all the action happens in book one. But what they are explaining is interesting, at least it was to me, and there are bursts of action in between. So you're not just reading like 400 pages of like plot of like background. You're not, and backstory. You're not doing any of that. But once you finish reading it, when you're reflecting on what you just read, you will realize that that's something that you'll notice, is that it's not the most satisfying end to a book. A lot of books do chaos, chaos. Some of these books that I'll talk about later do chaos, 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 and then it culminates at the end. This book doesn't really do that. It's kind of just like, chaotic things happen. At the end, you kind of anticipate if you know what I mean, right? So that's my only gripe with the book. It does feel like a prequel, but she's writing another book, I'm fairly certain. So maybe it is. And I think I will read the second book because it's an interesting, the place where it's set is very, very interesting. That's why I didn't mind actually having until the end, having so much backstory and explanation, because the world was pretty interesting. At least to me it was. Okay, so I didn't bring all my books to my dorm. That's why I can't physically show you all of them, but I read all of them. Don't play me, okay? So the second book that I wanted to, the second book that I want to talk, Wings of Ebony, I gave a 4 out of 5. That's solid. That's pretty solid. 4 out of 5. The next book that I want to talk about is a little book called Cinderella is Dead. Have you heard of it? Have you heard of it? If you haven't, you don't follow me on Twitter. Everyone needs to read this book so I can get my HBO Max limited series. Everyone needs to read this book so I can get my HBO Max limited series. But let me tell you about this book. Let me set the scene for you. So this book is set, I think, 2,000 years after Cinderella happened, after that whole storyline happened, after she met Prince Charming and all of that. And so in this new society, every year there is a ball where the women of this land hopefully get chosen and married off into society and meet their Prince Charming. Obviously issues galore. Obviously you can already tell the issues that come up with that. So this main character, her name is Sophia, she's 16. She would rather marry Aaron, her childhood best friend. She likes women. She'd rather do that than parade in front of these suitors who are usually old, disgusting, creepy men. Not always, but the disgusting part is always fucking there. And so at the ball that she has forced to go to, she decides to flee because, hello? Get me the fuck out of here. She decides to flee and she basically finds herself in Cinderella's grave site, and there she meets Constance, who is the last known descendants of Cinderella and her stepsisters. It's so good. Together, they want to bring down the kingdom. They want to end the suffering for all the women in this world. They want to end the suffering, and they're going to do it together. I can't tell you anymore because that would be a spoiler. I can't tell you any more, but they're going to be spoilers. So this book, the pacing of this book is what I want to discuss with you. You were on the edge of your seat nearly the entire time, not as much as a book that I'll mention later. The book that I'll mention later was a lot at some points, but it gives you time enough to breathe, to really understand the characters and how they're actually feeling. Not that so much is happening so fast you don't understand how the characters would be able to handle this. You get to hear their inner thoughts as they're going through it. It makes a lot of sense. In this book, everyone is black. Everyone in this book is black, good and or bad. And I think if you read one book out of the books that I'm going to recommend, have it be this one. It's fantasy. If you like, I didn't say this is the fantasy section. I'm going to talk about different genres a little bit later. If you're going to read one book, if the next book that I talk about is too much for you, read this book instead, because it still has the same pacing, the same high stakes but it has a whodunit and a mystery element that is so phenomenal. I can't talk about it because it's a full spoiler. I can't talk about it because it's a literal full spoiler, but it has, you don't know the story. You don't know what you think you know about Cinderella. You know nothing. You know nothing. And it's actually, it's drama. It's drama, it's tension, I need to reread this book. That's what I'm doing next. So this is what I like to do as a kid. I love to extrapolate from like general stories, so like fables and fairy tales. I love reimagining them, if that makes sense. So like modern retellings, and because it's like a storyline that you already know, there's like little Easter eggs hidden in everywhere. That's what I like. So if you like doing that as a kid, you will really like this book. That's why I tried reading that series. I forget what it's called, but it's a bunch of retellings of like Disney princess stories. I read the Beauty and the Beast one. It was boring as shit. It was boring as shit, and I was so mad because I was like, why wasn't this good? You have a good source material, why wasn't this? It was terrible. But that's not what this video is about. This book, Cinderella is Dead, was excellent. This book was excellent. These authors have some real gifts, and I would like to thank you personally because this book is fucking amazing. Okay, so that's my fantasy section of this video. So the next section is, I guess, horror, thriller. Don't really know the difference. Scary. Next section is the scary set. Is it scary? Yeah. Is it that scary? Not really, but it is kind of, if like, depending on what triggers you. So the next book I want to talk about, as you all know, you've heard of this book, so I keep fucking talking about it, is Ace of Spades. Oh wait, I rated Cinderella is Dead a 5 out of 5. I give lots of things 5 out of 5s, guys. I don't like reading things that would be lower than a 5 out of 5. That's wasting my time, is it not? So the next book I want to talk about is Ace of Spades. I can't give you a summary. Okay, wait. I'm gonna give you a summary. I can't say too much because anything that I summarize is the plot that's supposed to be a secret up until you read the book. So this book follows Chiamaka and Devon, or Devon. Devon? Devon. They both attend this private school in it's like a random city, so it could be any city. It could be any city, that's the point. They attend this private school in this like this hoity-toity super posh private school, and this book is about their time at their school. That's my summary of this book. That's because I went into this book blind, and I want everyone else to read like the trigger warnings first before you like jump in blind. But that's what I did, and I actually preferred. I remember that people said it was a Gossip Girl X Get Out sort of thing. It had remnants of both, and I forgot about the Get Out part until I got to a point in the book and I was like, oh wait, yeah. So think Gossip Girl meets Get Out. Gossip Girl, not as much. I actually don't think. More Get Out. What's a different teen drama that did maybe a little bit of Gossip Girl? This book is literally exhilarating to read. It gives you the exact same feeling as watching, I guess, a thriller or a horror movie. The pacing is, I basically devoured this book. I was reading it, I sat down to read. I usually read books in 3 sections because I don't want to finish books too fast anymore. Couldn't put it down, finished. I read 100 pages and then I put it down, and then the second time I sat to read, I read the whole rest of the thing because it's so captivating. Here's the thing, it's like traumatizing a little bit, but it's exhilarating because your heart is beating out your chest so fast and you have to lay down, which is why it makes for a really good and kind of fast read. So here are 2 options. If the trigger warnings for this book are too much, read Cinderella is Dead to get you back into reading. If you are fine with trigger warnings, read this book to get you back into reading, because that pacing, you won't be able to put it down. When books get into that slump is when you put it down and you don't pick it up again for 6 months. There is no slump in Ace of Spades. There is no slump in this. I don't want to tell you more about the plot because I want you to read it knowing nothing. You just know the name Chiamaka and Devin. That's all you need to know. Do read the trigger warnings though, because there is stuff that might, you know, trigger you in this book. There's like white supremacy's in this book, outing people's in this book, loads of things, you know, eugenics is in this book. Be careful. But if all that is good for you, read the fuck out of this. Now, I'm like the people who've read this book. So let me know in the comments who your answer is to this question. You get to kick one of these two people square in their jaw. Jamie or Belle? I'm really intrigued to know the answer because I have my answer. And I want to know if you agree with me. Who would you get one chance to kick one of them square in the jaw and cause some very serious damage? Who are you going to pick? Jamie or Belle? Let me know in the comments who you're gonna save your kick for, because Belle, I'm coming for that ass. I'm coming for that ass. I'm coming for that ass. I'm coming for you first. Jamie already got hit, so I don't need to do any more. I'm coming for that ass first, Belle. So I really don't want to say anything more about the summary because I don't want to give it away. It's not giving it away. If you've lived this experience, it's not really, you'll know what's happening by like a couple pages in if you've lived that experience. But if you haven't, it'll be a little bit of a thriller for you. Even if you have lived the experience, it's not predictable like you might think it is, because you might start reading it and be like, okay, I figured something out. It's still not what you think it is. The book is still not what you think it is. It's still not going to go in the direction that you think it's going to go. It's still not really going to follow the path you think it's going to take. A lot of different things are going to happen along the way to make it, you don't know. So if you think you know what's happening, you don't. Then also the people who read the book, did you guys like the ending? Did you find the ending satisfying? Because I did not. I need to know what happened in the maybe she's writing a second book. Maybe she's writing a book, because that like time gap, yeah, no, that didn't work for me. The time jump did not work for me. I need to know what happened. I need to actually know what happened. So I think she's writing a second book, and I will be pre-ordering that immediately as I pre-ordered this book, because it was Gossip Girl X Get Out, and the cover is beautiful. And there was like one of my Patreon subscribers got like the book club version. It comes with little playing cards that are so cute that now I want to buy. It's done so well. I think everyone should read Ace of Spades. Check the trigger warnings first, but I think you should read this book. It should be fine. So that's my horror section. I don't like horror shit. That was just really good. So the next section is, I guess, new adult / adult romance. I think they're both new adult. The first series is definitely new adult. I forget about the second one. It might be, but actually the characters are like adult. So I actually don't think so. I'm not sure. So the new adult genre is a genre I didn't know that existed until literally this year. And actually, where has this been all my life? It's giving fan fiction, but like grown up. It's so good. And now I get it in book form. It does the same things as what fan fiction does. If that was your past, it does the same thing. This genre. So the first series that I want to discuss, is the Addicted series. Okay, this gets if I could give it a 10 out of 5, I would, so a 2. I don't read white media, and I would never recommend white media unless it is just dripping and drowning in utter excellence. I wouldn't lead you astray because you're gonna look it up. The covers are gonna look crazy. Ignore. The first 3 books don't have the covers that show up on Google. It has there's no naked people on them. That happens in the later books. The first 3 books don't have that, just so you know. I would never lead you astray, especially with Caucasian main characters. But this series, reading it during a pandemic, mistake 1. mistake 1 and mistake 2. But you know, I can't go back and correct my errors, and I'm very grateful that I made said errors, because even though this puts you in kind of a state of like permanent loneliness, the books are amazing. So I don't really mind, actually, but we'll see. I could compare this series to 1, Gossip Girl, because of the wealth and the wealth only. The people in this book are like ultra mega rich. The friend group is connected via fucking or friendship, but also family in this book, if that's something that's interested you. So the series basically follows a family and other families, but it starts out with 2 best friends fake dating. That's why I started reading it. Fake dating is in the first book. Hello, the best trope? You can fight me on that, you probably will, but I think it's best trope. Back to my point. And explores their relationship as they're fake dating, right? They have exorbitant wealth, like exorbitant wealth. He is an alcoholic and she is a sex addict. So that's what makes their relationship very tumultuous, very tumultuous. So the first book is just about the 2 of them, Lo and Laura. That's not their names. The first book follows the 2 of them and their, you know, wealth. Lo and Lauren and Lily is her name. Follows the 2 of them, and then as the book goes on, we're introduced to more people. We're introduced to Lily's siblings, and we're introduced to other male romantic interests for all of them. And it forms like a friend/frenemy friend group, if that makes sense. So we meet Lily's sisters, we meet Rose, we meet Daisy, we meet other people, then we meet connected via lots of things. I won't spoil that for you. We meet other characters like Reich and like Connor, good man. I'm talking about him in a second. So as the book goes on, we get to hear more about the sisters' lives. Like, it's the Addicted series, and then there's a sub-series of the Calloway sisters. I'm reading it in full order. I'm on Hot House Flower right now, so I'm reading it with the Calloway sisters like ingrained into the timeline. I'm not reading it separately. You could. I feel like you'd be confused though. Also, you'd be missing out on the best book so far, which is Kiss the Sky. Don't do that to yourself. Don't miss out on unbridled, excellent writing. Back to my point. So it follows Lily and Lo in the first couple of books, but brings in the sisters as well. And then Kiss the Sky is the first book about a Calloway sister, and it's about Rose, my personal favorite. That's my soul sister. That is my soul sister. That's the first book that follows someone who is not Lily and Lo. These books are very spicy. Very spicy. If you follow me on Twitter, I posted a picture of one of the books. Like, my mentions were you can't gatekeep a book that came out in 2014. You can't gatekeep a book that came out in 2014 and that was super popular in 2014. That's impossible. The gate's broken. What you're not keeping anything in. Get out of my mentions. Back to my point. So I posted a picture of it one day. So if you remember that smut, that is this book. That is this book, and that is actually, that scene that I posted is relatively tame compared to what comes after, compared to what comes in Kiss the Sky, tame. So now if you read them, we're doing interactive stuff in the comments. So I asked you first, who are you gonna kick in the jaw, Belle or Jamie? For this book, my interactive question is, I need to know who your favorite is out of the 3 guys, because it's gonna tell me a lot about you as a person. It's gonna tell me a lot about you as a person. Mine is Connor, and that should tell you a lot about me as a person. I'm not gonna say anything else because this channel is PG-13, I think. So I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. And that's it. I don't know how they got inside my head. That's my point with these 2 ladies who wrote these books. So are you spying on me? I know Google and everyone is spying on me currently. Do authors tap into that? Because there's no reason you're inside my head like this. First off, you have a whole series that starts off with fake dating. You're already inside my head. That's 1. 2, you write Rose as a character. You're inside my head. You write Connor as Rose's love interest. How is that not how are you not mining off of what's in my brain? Because not only did you write Rose the character, not only did you write Connor as a character, you have them be each other's. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much. It is too much. My favorite book is Kiss the Sky, for obvious reasons, because of Rose and Connor's, you know, romance, the ski lodge scene, shaking and crying. I read that. I was in class. I like read these. I read in between classes. That's how you keep reading, is reading in between classes. And I think I read that scene right before I had to go onto Zoom for class. And I had turned, my camera was off. I mean, Black people don't blush, but I was like, I'm blushing down. I can't sit in front of people right now because that was too much. But it's so good. Oh my God. What else? I have yet to start Hot House Flower. The only reason I'm putting off Hot House Flower is because, I'm sorry guys, I don't know about Reich and Daisy. I'm sorry, it makes me, I know that it's coming, it makes me a wee bit uneasy, I'm really not gonna lie, because she's barely legal, makes me a bit uncomfortable personally. Now I don't know how old she is in Hot House Flower, but everything we've read so far, she's barely legal. Scary. I'm sorry, that's why I'm putting it off. Am I actually gonna read it? I don't know. If I read it and it's too much, I'm not reading it. I'm gonna skip to the next book and I'm gonna deal with it personally, okay? Reading wise, the first book is an average length for a book. It's not too long. If you haven't read in a while, it will not be a problem, especially with the scene in the book. You will not have a problem getting through this book. The second book though is really short, so it can be read in one sitting. I read it in one sitting, so I for help would get Addicted for Now when you get Ricochet, because Ricochet it's like a pamphlet. It's like 200 pages long. Just you blow right through it, and once you blow right through it, you're gonna want to know immediately what happens in Addicted for Now, which is, I have a staunch stand against books that are over 450 pages. I think books that are 500 pages plus are where are the people who are sick of these Bible length books? Where are can we have a support group, because it's getting out of hand. You don't need 500 pages. Very few of you guys actually need 500 pages. Very few of you guys actually use 500 pages properly. Half of you, 90% of you guys wrote a 300-page book and then wrote fluff for 200 pages. Do I look like the type of person who's gonna waste my time to read fluff for 200 pages? No. The answer is no. The exception though is in Addicted for Now. You know why it's an exception? It's just 3 books taped together. There's 3 parts, it's 3 separate books taped together. That's why it's fine. And it's nothing but action. There is no, it's here, up, and it's up there for all 500 pages. I am avidly against super long books, but I do recommend this one because it needed to be that long. They could have split the book up, I guess, into 3, but no, it needed to be that long. What happened in that book, it all happened enough. That wasn't a real sentence. What happened made sense for it to be in one book. It all needed to happen one after the other. And in that book, oof. So I would recommend this series. The first book is an average length. It's not too long, but you will get, at least if you like it, you'll get invested in the characters and want to read more. Then you'll have to get through a 500-page book eventually, but it's not that bad. You can read it as 3 separate books, and it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It takes you on the most exhilarating journey in 500 pages, so it's fine. It's fine. So I think you guys should read this book. I think you guys should read the Addicted series. I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. They're all rich assholes. Asshole, depending on who the person is, it's either higher or lower, but they're all mega wealthy, and they all act like they're mega wealthy. And it's like they're college age, graduating college age. That's the age of the people in this book. They're not like, it's not YA, but they're not like 30. They're 20s, 21, 22, 25. Like, that's what the age of this book. Amazing. Once again, not all the covers have naked people on them. Only the first 3 do not. If you order them from Barnes & Noble, which is what I did, the first 3 have like this cute little heart on them with this like font. Only Kiss the Sky and Hot House Flowers have actual like people on them, and I don't like that. So, personally, but I bought physical copies because I fucking hate ebooks, so I know most people don't. So maybe the ebooks covers look a little bit different, but just so you know, they don't have, the first 3 do not have naked people on the cover. Those are my thoughts on the Addicted series, which I love. 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5. The Addicted series is one of the only books that I'm talking about that I didn't do a book club on. I kind of want to though, because I want to finish it though, but the series is long. I am putting it off because it's so good. I reread Kiss the Sky instead of starting Hot House Flower. Oopsie. Oopsie. You should talk to Rose and Connor. You should talk to their chemistry and tell me what I was supposed to do about that. Nothing. Alright, so the last book that I want to talk about is something that obviously you knew was going to be in this video, I guess, because everyone has been reading these books, and I finally joined the train. So we're going to talk about the Brown Sisters trilogy. I've known about these books for not that long of a time, actually. I don't remember when I heard about these books, but when I did, I started reading them for my Patreon book club. And where have these been all my life? I don't go to the bookstore, guys, and go buy them. They're not lying. The book talkers are not lying. Those scenes that the scenes that they pull out from these books, those are not fabricated. Those are real scenes. Go to the bookstore. Go to the bookstore. And I'm gonna start with the first one. The first one is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. This one I gave a 4 out of 5, only because her sisters curb stomped on her book. It wasn't even a fair fight. Her sisters curb stomped on her book. Her sister's love interest curb stomped on her love interest, whatever. This book is good. Another very, very, very spicy read. That's what this whole genre is. I'm not spicy. I'm gonna read a romance book with no spice. No. The answer is no. So this book follows Chloe Brown, who's an author living in London, and her love interest, she has chronic illnesses and disabilities, and they talk about that in the book in a very caring way, not in an exploitative way, not in a she's a hero way, not in any of that. It's handled with actual care and grace, and she's black, so they're showing a black woman's perspective on those things as well. Her love interest in this book is Red. He's the landlord. That's a good man. He is white. And it comes out in the first 15 pages that he is white when he judges her incredibly rudely. I don't fucking like that. I didn't like that. But that's the thing Talia Hilbert doesn't ignore, because these are all swirls. Sorry, these are all swirls, all 3 of these books. But in the books, at least, I'm not done with the 3rd book. I'm reading that. Our book club is tomorrow. I'm still reading that. In these books, she doesn't ignore the fact that they are 2 different races, and she kind of, it's not too much, but it's something that comes up. It's not like the characters, the black characters, don't know that they're black and don't know that their partner is not black. They don't do that. There's no ignorant bliss here. That doesn't exist, all right? Which is really, really nice and refreshing. So Chloe Brown, it follows her story, meeting Red, getting to know Red, all I'm gonna say on that, and her like dealing with her chronic illnesses and how that's affecting her work and how she wants to do her work and things like that. Beautiful read, really well handling. And throughout the 3 of these books, Talia handles mental illnesses in a way that I haven't seen before, especially related to black women in a way I have not seen before, and chronic conditions. So the second book in the second book in the series, why is it Amanda's favorite book in the series? Can you guess why the second book is my favorite book in the series? As of right now, I'm reading Eve Brown right now. I really like it. It's not, Zaf is not comparable to the other 2 men, so it's not a fair fight. It's not a fair fight. The second book is Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is my current favorite. It's fake dating. It's not just, don't do me, it's not just that it's fake dating, it's that Zaf is the best love interest. Now, I have not finished Eve Brown, but Jacob is not Zaf. I like Jacob. He's not Zaf though. I have not finished, but I'm not seeing how he's gonna compare where he doesn't compete. I'm not seeing that at all. So Dani reminds me of myself a lot, which is why I love this book. She's like a very cynical, hopeless romantic, and that's kind of who I am. So I like that about her. She's getting her PhD, I'm pretty sure. She's in school and she's studying. She's very, very smart. And she meets Zaf, who's a security guard in her building, and he was a retired rugby player. And so they start, because he like saves her from a building. Ugh, that scene is beautiful. He saves her from a building, someone records it, obviously. And so they become like rugby bae because he's like famous, and so they start fake dating in order to like help because he is such a good man. He runs a charity for children for boys so they can talk about their mental health together. See, instead of complaining on a Twitter account, he is doing the work. What have you done? Nothing. So back to my point. They start fake dating to help his business, you know. Social media buzz is a lot for small businesses, so they start fake dating to help that. And that's all I'm gonna say, because we know what fake dating turns into, and it does turn into that. And it's beautiful, and it's so well done. Zaf has anxiety, and they talk about that in the book, and talk about how it impacts his life. It's part of the reason why he doesn't do sports anymore. He talks about male mental health. It's talked about a lot in this book, and it's important to talk about. Again, you guys have to talk about it. Can't help you if you don't want to be helped. Can't happen. Like that in this book. The radio scene, come sit down and talk to me, when he like breaks down in front of, before going into the radio, and like Dani helps him. Yes, I cried. What was I supposed to do? Sit there? Zaf is also a good man in non-PG-13 reasons, so I'm not gonna say them. Also a good man in that aspect as well. And in my humble opinion, again, I haven't finished Eve yet, so I don't know about Jacob, but Zaf is better than Red. Is that because he looks better than Red in my head physically? Yes. Also, he didn't do the slightly racist meeting encounter at the beginning. That didn't happen in this book. So he's slightly better in my opinion. I think he's more interesting than Red, and he's slightly more interesting than Jacob. Jacob is funny though. He's not trying to be, but I think he's funny, and I'll talk about the third book. Have like 100 pages left in the third book, so I didn't want to talk about it because I don't know shit. But I love Eve and Jacob's banter. I think Eve is a hot mess, and I think she is so fucking funny. Dani was pretty funny. Chloe was not that funny. Dani was pretty funny. Eve is funny. And I like how chaotic she is. I don't know why. I don't think I'm a chaotic person. In my head, I think I'm a little bit more chaotic than I am that comes out in person, but I liked Eve. Eve is so funny, and she doesn't really take shit. I like that. She doesn't take nonsense. She doesn't take crap. Because you see that a lot in some, like, tropes. Oh, also, the actor Eve has the stuck under the same roof trope, if that's something that you like. The stuck under the same roof. They're not sharing the same bed, but they're stuck under the same roof. It's a bed and breakfast. Which, hello? See, it's what I don't understand about Talia is this gift. So while reading Act Your Age, Eve Brown, I added all of her books to my cart, and I will be pressing the place order button the second I finish this third book, because when you have a gift that lets you write romantic scenes in this way, what am I to do but read everything you've ever written in your entire life? If you can make me literally blush while reading a book like 25 pages in, we barely met the characters, that's a little sinister. I have to now dedicate my life to reading the rest of your books, right? I have reread Take a Hint, Dani Brown twice now. It's so... Go to the bookstore, and then also let's turn to Hollywood. Why we got 3 full books of source material starring Black women that are very, very popular books, and it's been mum from you guys. Is it because they're all dark skinned and plus size? Maybe. Twerp. What's up with that? These books are each like 350 pages each, chock full of source material, telling you directly what to do, telling you pretty much who to cast. Nothing. It's been from you guys. That's really definitely interesting. It's not. It's very boring and mundane, actually. I really enjoy these books. I'm gonna reread. I think I want to reread the whole thing again. No, I said I was gonna read her other books before I reread again, because I've already reread Take a Hint a little too many times. Sorry. It's, what am I supposed to do? I hear fake dating, I run towards it. I started reading the Addicted series based off of one single person's recommendation on Twitter because she said it was fake dating. So I said, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Hand me the book. Hand me the book. And it was so excellent. So I gave Get a Life Chloe Brown 4 out of 5. I'm giving Take a Hint Danny Brown 5 out of 5. Danny is me. That's why we're one in this. We're one in the same. That's why. Eve, as of right now, I think it's better than Get a Life Chloe Brown as of right now. We'll see how the end actually goes. And maybe, no, this video's uploading today, so I can't even be like, here's what I thought at the end. But I have a book club. We're having a meeting about it tomorrow if you would like to join on my Patreon. So yeah, that's about it for the Brown Sisters trilogy. They're not lying. Book Talk is not lying to you. BookTube is not lying to you. Go to Barnes and Nobles and fucking buy the book. They're not lying. They're not lying. Those scenes are not lying. Book Talk likes to show some of the tamest ones, because I'm like, there are other scenes, especially in Take a Hint, that you could really use. But we are PG-13 over here. Go read these books. They're very good. They're very, very good. Oh, by the way, for Ace of Spades is the only book that I listened to an audiobook for. So it's the only book that I can speak on the audiobook for. The audiobook is decent. It is very, very slow. Especially the guy who reads for Devin. He reads very, 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 very slow. You can speed it up. It might sound a little chipmunky-esque, but the way the storytelling in the audiobook is pretty good, but just the pacing is really, really slow. It's not, sometimes it's necessary. I don't think it was. I think the guy who was reading for him was reading a little bit too slow, but the girl who was reading for Chiamaka kept the pacing kind of made up for lost time. It was pretty good. I read it when I was driving to Boston. It wasn't that bad. Then I got out of the car after the 4-hour-long drive, and we were only like 100 pages in, and that's when I said, maybe audiobooks aren't for me. But then I learned you can speed up the speed. So I'll stop complaining now. So yes, these are all of my favorite books that I have read thus far this year. Yeah, out of all of them, go buy Cinderella is Dead if you like fantasy. If you don't like fantasy, buy the Brown Sisters trilogy. I want everyone to read Ace of Spades. I want everyone to read that book. If you can handle reading that book, I want everyone to read that book because it's so good. But I know the trigger warnings are a lot of people. So like if it's not something that you want to read, that's perfectly okay. If you're non-black and you're reading that book, it's not your job to find out how different you are from the Caucasians. You are them. You are Belle. You are Jamie. That's the point of the book, okay? Because I saw a little too much of that with, I don't follow white book talk at all, but I saw the black book talkers I was following like talking about how when white people recommend that book, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I'm sure you guys distance yourselves from the characters that are literally written to represent you. Those characters are written to represent you. Don't distance yourself from Belle and Jamie. They're representing you. And Scotty, they're you. They're you. That's not somebody else. That's not a fictional character. That's supposed to represent you. Pooh. Especially Belle. Because a lot of y'all act like her. A lot of y'all have her same characteristics and traits and act in that same way. So don't distance yourself from the characters. Amanda's little tidbit. But yeah, if you would like to hear me talk about a little bit more about some of these books, I have the recordings of the book clubs are on my Patreon if you would like to. Not all of these books I talk about in the book club, but a lot of them I did do, if that's something that interests you. And yeah, that's about it. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I just want to talk about the books that I read because I think they're fun. I didn't want to give spoilers because I want you guys to read them, because I think I gave good recommendations. You probably heard about most of them because I keep talking about these books, but I think if you really want to get back into reading, these are pretty good. These are pretty good. I don't want to give you, because slow shit doesn't work, especially not for me. All of these books have pretty good pacing. Wings of Ebony a little bit less than the other ones, but all pretty good pacing. All black people except that Addicted series, but I would never lead you astray with Caucasians. I would never lead you astray. And in my head, they're not white. It's pretty easy to, because sometimes characters do like, and sometimes some of these characters do some really, really white shit, so you can't always imagine them as black, but you can for them. I do for the most part. Reading the Calloway sisters, they're black in my head. Please, 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 please move out of my way. Please move out of my way. I'm not, no. So it's easy enough to do it. There will be some parts where you're like, damn, that was some white girl shit, where you won't be able to, but just skip over. It'll be like one sentence. Just ignore the sentence. Perfect. So yeah, that is the end of my video. Thank you guys so much for watching me talk about books for I don't know how long that was. My apologies. But yeah, that's it in my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. So you want to click a link in my description box to get your 1 month free trial of Skillshare if you would like to. And yeah, hope you guys are staying healthy and safe inside your home as best you can. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.